Now only there's 6 formulas here. At the moment we are just applying the relevant formula. We are not completing the square. We're going to deal with that just now. Right, so we're getting used to identifying our A, B and X. So in this case, again it shouldn't take more than 1 minute. So this will be, first of all you can see it's a fraction. We need to rewrite 5 as the square root of 5 squared. 6 will be the square root of 6 all squared times x plus 2 all squared. Don't forget your dx on the top. So now we match it with, this one is a minus sign here. Okay, so now, I think I put 2 negatives, but anyway, we'll go with what we wrote on the board. Okay, this is a minus sign. So therefore, number 2 is a plus sign. Can you see that? And I wrote it like I'm supposed to write a minus, a plus, but I wrote down a negative. It doesn't matter. So according to what we have here, it is a negative separating the two terms. So this is a fraction, but there's a positive. So where's the negative? Here's the negative. Can you see that? Right, this is a squared plus b squared x squared. This is a squared minus b squared x squared. We have the minus sign there. Can you see that? Right, so therefore, we are dealing with number 4. So it's going to be 1 over 2 ab. A is square root 5 and b is square root 6. So that's 1 over 2 ab. Ln of a plus bx, so that will be the square root of 5 plus the square root of 6 times x. What is x here? X plus 2, and in the bottom you got a minus bx, so that is the square root of 5 minus the square root of 6 times x plus c. You can simplify, that's not so important, obviously you can simplify this here. Okay. So be careful, there's a minus sign, it's definitely number 4, it is not number 2. Okay, and let's deal with the next one. Let's rewrite this as perfect squares. So 144 will be 12 squared minus the square root of 7 squared times x minus 3 all squared. So let's check this. Be careful. This is, you have a square root here. It is not a fraction. There's 2 formulas that deals with square roots. Number 3 deals with a square root which is not a fraction. And number 5. Can you see that? So be careful. Is it number 3 or number 5?
Number 3.
When will we use number 5? When x is on the left of your sign here. X is the left term here. Can you see that? And the constant is the term on the right. But for number 3, a is the constant. So a is on the left of your negative sign. And your bx squared is on the right. So this is definitely number 3. No doubt here. Can you see that? Right, so that will be a squared over 2b. What's my a? So that's 12 squared all over 2b. 2 times the square root of 7. Inverse sine bx over a. So that's going to be the square root of 7 times x minus 3 all over a, which is 12 plus x over 2. So that's plus x minus 3 over 2 times the square root of whatever you had here. So that's times 144 minus 7 into x minus 3 all squared plus c. Okay, you don't have to write it as 12 squared and the square root of 7 squared here. Okay. So here obviously you're going to go and simplify. I'm not interested in the simplifying at the moment. Can you identify your a, b and x? So obviously you're going to go and simplify here. The main thing is, can you apply the relevant formula? Alright, number 4. This is a fraction. Can you see that? Number 4 is a fraction. And in the denominator, there's no square roots. So again, is it number 2 or is it number 4? It's clearly number 4 again. Why? Because number 4 deals with the negative. On the left of your negative is a constant. You follow? So now, let's rewrite this. That's going to be 1 over the square root of 6 all squared minus the square root of 7 all squared, and that is x plus 4 all squared. There's your dx. So we are using number 4 again, which is 1 over 2ab. My a is square root 6 and my b is square root 7 times ln a plus bx, so that will be square root 6 plus square root 7 of x. What is my x here? X plus 4 in the bottom, the square root of 6 minus the square root of 7 times x plus 4, and you're done. All we're doing is copying down or putting into the correct place our a, b and x at the moment. Alright, the next one, number 5. We have a square root, there's no fraction. So, it could be number 3, it could be number 5, according to our formula sheets. Right, so, which one is it? It's definitely not number 3. Why?
Bx.
Number 3 starts, there's a negative sign on the left, a and b are constant. So if it's just a number squared on the left, it's not number 3. Number 5 deals with a variable here, x squared. So now, x is now x minus 2, so let's just rewrite this here. So that's x minus 2 squared minus the square root of 7 all squared. Here's my dx there. So now, number 5, okay, that is a long formula, so let's write it down here. So it's going to start with x over 2. What is my x here?
X minus
X minus 2 over 2 times the square root of exactly what I have here, which is x minus 2 squared minus the square root of 7 squared. You don't have to write it as the square root of 7 squared, yes. Okay. So now, be careful. Number 5. There's actually 2 formulas simplified into one here. It's written as one. So, you could get a question with the positive or with the negative. We are dealing with the negative. How do you follow? Top and bottom, not positive and negative. Okay, so it's top and bottom. So we are dealing with the sign in the bottom. That means you follow the sign in the bottom everywhere. You follow? But it happens to be in order here. So we got this. So we're dealing with the negative, the bottom, negative. The bottom is also negative here. Can you see that? So now this will be minus b squared. What is my b? The square root of 7 squared over 2 ln of x. What is my x?
x
Minus 2 plus. Okay, here there is no confusion. It's just a plus, no matter which question you're given. It's a positive here times the square root of the same thing that you had, which is
x
x minus 2 squared minus 7 plus c. You're done. We're just applying the relevant formula. Right, the last one. First, let's rewrite it as perfect squares. So 9 will be, so that's 3 squared times x squared minus 11 can be written as the square root of 11 all squared. There's my dx. So we have a fraction. There's a square root in the denominator. So here's a fraction with the square root in the denominator. That's number 1. Is there any other formula which is similar to this? Yes, it's number 6. Both are fractions with square roots in the denominator. But which one are we dealing with here?
Number 6.
So you look at the sign, there's your sign here. On the left of your negative sign, you have a variable which is squared. Can you see that? So here, on the left of your negative sign is a constant which is squared. So it's definitely not number 1, it is number 6. Alright. So that's 1 over b, which is going to be 1 over 3.
Ln.
Okay, there's your 1 over b, 1 over 3 ln of bx, which is 3x plus the square root of b squared x squared. We are dealing with the minus here, the sign in the bottom, so it's going to be b squared, which is 9x squared minus 11. Okay. A squared, square root of 11 squared, you don't have to write it down here, it's just 11 plus c. So this is just applying the relevant formula. Okay. So not be given the question in this form here, where you just have to rewrite a square and copy down the formula. This is how you're given the question. Okay, you got a square root here. Can you see that? And there is no fraction. So at this stage, we do not know which one are we using. But we know it's one of 2 possibilities. Where's your possibility? Number 3 or number 5. You follow? So at the moment we do not know. So now here's completing the square. Right, so completing the square again, that's the only part which you need to master here. The rest is just copying down. So completing the square, so we got ax squared plus bx plus c. Let's rewrite it in the form ax squared plus bx plus c first. So here it's rearranged. So all we do is we write down minus 4x squared minus 4x plus 24. So now, what is the first step when we're completing the square? We need to make the coefficient of x squared. This must be a positive 1. Positive 1. Is it positive 1?
No.
So what do you do if it's not a positive 1?
Divide.
You need to take out a common factor. There's no dividing by minus 4x. You take out a common factor. Right. So you take out a common factor of negative 4. It seems like a simple thing, take out a common factor, but I guarantee you 50% of you are going to make a mistake here. So let me just allow you to do it for 1 minute. Right. Okay, so now we took out negative 4 as a common factor. So what's the first term that I write down? It's going to be a 1. You don't have to write down that 1. So it's just x squared. Check. Minus 4 times x squared will be minus 4x squared. Next term here, what will it be?
Plus 1.
Positive
X.
x, check. Minus 4 times a positive x, negative times positive is negative, so you know it is correct. Then the last term, what is it? It's going to be a negative 6, and you close bracket there. A negative times a negative will give you a positive. You do not go and work out the whole problem. and then you start checking. You have to check this stage by stage. Okay, so the first stage is to check mentally. After you took out the common factor, you multiply in your head. Minus 4 times x squared minus 4 times x minus 4 times minus 6. Alright, that is step 1. If step 1 is wrong, you need to go and take 100 examples and take out a common factor. Then the 101st example, you will know it. Alright, so now what do we do? This is now completing the square. How do we do this? We write down. At the moment, we now have our new ax squared plus bx plus c, where a is a positive 1. Alright, that's what we have here. At this stage, a must be a positive 1. Right, so now what do? We copy down ax squared plus bx. And we leave a space here and we write down our plus c. So watch how I'm going to do this. I'm going to copy down. It must be in order. It mustn't be rearranged where you have minus 6 here and plus x. It doesn't work that way. So you copy down the first two terms, which is x squared plus x. This negative 6, you're going to leave a space here. There's your minus 6. Now, basically you are copying down all three terms, but you are leaving a space in between the bx and the c. Can you see that? So, what goes here now? It's going to be plus half the coefficient of x squared minus half the coefficient of x squared. Always, no matter what example you give them. Plus first, minus second. It doesn't work the other way. Right, so now, I said half the coefficient of x. All squared. Half the coefficient of x all squared. So first of all, what is the coefficient of x?
B.
So here, the coefficient of x is
B.
1.
1.
So half the coefficient of x, that means half of 1. What you are doing is you are multiplying half times 1. That's what it means. Half the coefficient of x, or if I phrase it differently, the coefficient of x divided by 2. It means the same thing but phrased differently. So, half the coefficient of x is 1 over 2 here, 1 over 2. You copy down the same number. If you have to square this and work it out, the fact is you got a positive and a negative of the same thing. They cancel each other out. That means you'll get back to the previous stage. You follow? So now, what do we do next? Right, so once you have this here, we will now factorize. You will always have a trinomial, right? Always. 1, 2, 3. Okay, provided that you took out a common factor correctly, you wrote this down, you will always have this here. A squared plus 2ab plus b squared, like in our case, or you could have a squared minus 2ab plus b squared, where you don't have to think too hard. When you factorize a squared plus 2ab plus b squared, it will always be a plus b all squared. And when you factorize a squared minus 2ab plus b squared, it will always be a minus b all squared. Alright, so here's your 1, 2, 3. So here's it here. A squared plus 2ab plus b squared. Obviously you cannot see that 2 there. Right. But now you factorize it. There's your square. So there's it here. There's my square. I need to write down my a plus b. What is a in this case here?
X squared.
My a is represented by x. What's your b? B is
Half.
the same number that you wrote down here, which is a positive half. Right, if it was a negative, it will be negative half. So now, the next two terms, all you do is you work it out. So that will be minus
6.
1 over 2 all squared, so that will be 1 over 4 minus
6.
6. We need to work that out. So we got our minus 4 here. So now we got x plus 1 over 2 all squared minus 1 over 4 minus 6 is the same as minus 1 minus 24, which is minus 25 all over 4. Right, you can use your calculator to do this, yeah? So now, what are we going to do? We are going to use this technique where if you take out a common factor, you give back that to each term. Right, so what we're going to do is we're going to multiply negative 4 back inside. How many terms do you have here?
2.
There's 1 here and 1 here, so there's 2 terms. So therefore, it's going to be minus 4 times the positive 1 that you will always have here. Alright, so it's going to be minus 4 times 1, which is minus 4 into x plus 1 over 2 squared. Then minus 4 times minus 25 over 4. Negative and negative. Positive 4 and 4 cancel. What do you end up with?
Hundreds of
Positive 25. Okay, so now let's see what we're going to do here. Now, I have this. Okay. So if we substitute, so this is what we had. At the moment we had the square root of 24 minus 4x minus 4x squared.
dx.
We took whatever's inside that square root, we completed the square, and now this is what it is at this stage. It's a minus 4 times x plus 1 over 2 all squared plus 25. Okay, now if you look at this, you go to that to your 6, one of your 6 formulas there. Which one is it? Now as it stands, it doesn't look like any one of these. Alright, because we got number 3 and number 6. Can you see that? But there is no negative. We don't ever start with a negative here. Can you see that? We don't start with minus a squared or minus, even here too. It's not minus b squared. So all we have to do is just swap the 2 terms. So if I swap these 2 terms, I will have
25.
I swap it, that will be 25 minus 4 into x plus 1 over 2 all squared.
dx.
So now it's clear, there's no doubts in our mind. Which one is it? Number 3 or number 6?
Number 3.
It's number 3 now because it's a constant here. Can you see that? So 25 can be written as 5 squared and 4 can be written as 2 squared, and there's your x plus 1 over 2 all squared. Now, which formula are we using?
Number 3.
There's no doubt it is number 3. Let's just finish this here. So therefore, we have the square root of a squared minus b squared x squared. You can write down the formula there quickly. That's a squared over 2b inverse sine bx over a plus x over 2. And then you have your a squared minus b squared x squared plus c. So now all we're doing is what I gave you there. We are just copying down. We know what's our a. A is 5, b here is 2, x is x plus half. So let's just write it down properly. This is going to be a squared over 2b. So that will be 5 squared all over 2 times. Your b here is 2. Inverse sine. So that's going to be inverse sine bx. So that will be 2 times x plus half. So there's my bx over a. What is my a here?
A
5 plus x over 2. My x is x plus 1 over 2, all divided by
5.
2. And here we copy down the same thing, which is 25 minus 4 into x plus half, all squared, plus c. Do we need to simplify only this part here? 5 squared, that's 25, 2 times 2 there is
4.
4, and I just copy down the rest. But this is the easy part. Okay, that is the difficult part. This is just copying down. Alright, so this is not the only way to deal with this. But you can copy this down. There is a different technique. I mean, we complete the square, but the substitution will be a bit different, which we're going to deal with just now.
Oh yes.
Alright, so I'm just going to change it a bit. So obviously the first here does not change. From here right up to here. It's the same thing. So what do I have? I have minus 4x squared minus 4x plus 24, which is equal to minus 4 into x plus half all squared minus 25 over 4. Alright, so I'm at this stage here. Let's say I completed the square. I came to this stage. Now, the other technique will be to not multiply the constant but just the sign. If it's a negative, multiply only the negative. So, what will happen here? You keep 4 outside. So, minus 1 times the positive will be minus x plus 1 over 2 squared. A negative times a negative here is positive 25 over 4. So now what happens here is you now substitute this. So this is equal to the square root of 4. Okay, then I have my 25 over 4 minus x plus 1 over 2 all squared dx.
Close brackets.
Alright, I just swapped the terms around, that doesn't change. But what's different now? The only difference is I did not multiply the 4. If I multiply the 4, 4 and 4 cancel, I'll have my 25. There's my 25. Here, 4 times the minus 1 will be minus 4. Can you see that? So, this is a different technique. So now what do? You find the square root of 4. What's the square root of 4?
2.
So that's going to be 2 times the square root of. You write down 25 over 4 as a perfect square, which is 5 over 2 all squared minus x plus 1 over 2 all squared. Now, it's still number 3. Here's number 3. A squared. What is my a now?
5 over 2.
My a there is 5 over 2. Can you see that? Minus, what is my x now? X is still x plus 1 over 2. But remember, it has a b squared here. So, what is a b squared?
1 squared.
It's just going to be, if there's nothing here, it's just 1 squared. You follow? So now, this will equal to, let me apply the formula. So that is 2 times everything here. So that's a squared over 2b. So that's 5 over 2 squared all over 2b, which is 2 times 1. Inverse sine bx over a. So that's 1 times x plus half all over a, which is 5 over 2 plus x over 2. What is my x? X plus 1 over 2 all over 2 times the square root of what I had here, which is 25 over 4 minus x plus 1 over 2 all squared
dx.
plus c. Let me just simplify this here for you. Okay.
Okay.
So now, I got my 2 here. This will be 5 over 2 all squared. 5 squared is 25, 2 squared is 4. 25 over 4 divided by 2 will be 25 over 8 inverse sine x plus 1 over 2 divided by 5 over 2. Okay, I can simplify this further. X plus 1 over 2 is the same as 2x plus 1 all over 2. You follow? LCD of 2 there. So this is 2x plus 1 over 2. If I change the division sign to multiplication, you will end up with just 2x plus 1 over 5 because the 2 and 2 will cancel. Okay. Here I'm just going to leave it as it is. We can, let me just do the last thing here. We can multiply. So that's going to be 25 over 4 inverse sine 2x plus 1 over 5. Then you're moving the desk now, it's making a noise here. Okay. So now 2 times this 2 here will cancel, you end up with x plus 1 over 2. And that's your 25 over 4 minus x plus 1 over 2 all squared. So that is the other technique. So you check in the textbook. Right, so if you're using that technique and you're not getting the answer, this is just a different version.